So I'm here with Chief Wisecup of the Oak Creek Fire Protection District, and we're going to talk about wildfires. So May is National Wildfire Prevention Month, and so just want to ask you a basic question: why is preventing wildfires? Why is it so important in Routt County?
One of the biggest reasons it's important in Routt County is because we have such limited resources throughout the county. All the districts are smaller districts, with the exception of Steamboat. Most of them are combination paid and volunteer. And so we have limited numbers available to handle regular calls. And then when we get wildland fires, that can really tax our staff and our personnel.
So if I'm an individual just kind of hanging out, the summer's starting, it's Memorial Day weekend, do I need a permit for a campfire, or what do I have to do to be able to enjoy my weekends and roast marshmallows in Oak Creek?
So yes, in the Oak Creek Fire Protection District, we do have a recreation permit for recreation type burns, little fire pits in your backyards, etc. Those are all supposed to have a permit. You can get those through our office here. They're free of charge. There are some parameters that are contained in those permits to help mitigate areas where your fire pit will be, certain distances from structures. There's conditions when you are burning. You have to have a garden hose, etc., available, and they have to be attended the entire time that they're burning.
Okay, and does that include also like fire tables like that I can buy at the store?
No, these are only for solid wood burning devices. The propane type fire pits. So a lot of things that don't require a permit are the propane fired. And the other thing that used to be in the fire code that is no longer is the chimeneas that set on your decks. Those do not require a permit. And then there's different parameters, whether you have an open pit like a campfire ring. Those have to be either 25 or 50 feet away from structures or other combustibles. And if you have the approved fire appliances that have the screens, the little kettles with the screens, those are relaxed a little bit and they can actually be 15 feet from the structures.
Okay, so it sounds like I can still enjoy fire and be safe. So are there any other messages that you would have for people in Oak Creek to enjoy their summer but not have it go up in smoke?
As long as they follow the permit parameters, we should be good. If they have any questions on whether their pit has a permit, because there have been people that have moved into homes, either renters or owners that bought new homes that may have a fire pit, but they don't necessarily have a permit. That permit goes with the occupant, not the property. So if you're a renter or a new owner and you happen to have a fire pit but don't have a permit, you need to contact us to get that so you're aware of the conditions on that permit for having that fire. And there's no charge for these permits. Okay.
And my last question is, so what if I see something in the distance burning, or or there's some type of alert that I get there that there is a wildfire? So should I be prepared for wildfires in Oak Creek? What kind of recommendation would you have for people living in Oak Creek?
So it's not cut and dried. I do actually have some people that have recreation permits that are required to call into dispatch when they're burning just because of their location. For instance, we have one out by the reservoir that's up on the hillside, and every time the guy lights his recreation fire that he has a permit for, somebody down at the dock or the marina or on the lake would call thinking his house was on fire. So he actually calls in those high visibility ones. We have them call in so dispatch is aware that somebody calls 911, they're aware there's a permitted fire there. The rest of the people are not necessarily required to call in for their recreation burns. And
but do you think it's important? So do we live in an area that we should have like an emergency kit at home, that all of a sudden there's some fire hazard and we have to leave our homes quickly? Is something you would recommend?
Oh, definitely. There's guidelines out there through numerous websites, Ready, Set, Go, several of them that have recommended kits, important papers, documents, etc., that you should have ready to go at any time. And then, you may be needed shelter in place. It's one of the things we found with this COVID-19, where a lot of people aren't prepared for any of that shelter in place. And we recommend a minimum of 72 hours of food and water, etc., so in case you have to shelter in place. We do actually have areas in my district where we may not necessarily evacuate people because it's one way in, one way out. So we would ask them to shelter in place.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, is there anything else that you think that Oak Creek needs to know about fire?
I've gotten several calls today, and the big confusion right now is, can I have a fire or not? So if you have a permitted recreation burn permit, you can have your fire. We do not have jurisdiction over the state parks, and I believe they're allowing people to burn. Restrictions are still in effect on the national forest. So, there are some established, they're really not established campgrounds. They're more dispersed camping. And typically those are on national forest as well. So be aware of the Forest Service guidelines. So my knowledge, BLM does not have any restrictions in place.
Okay. Well, you stay safe and healthy this summer, and we really appreciate you taking time with us. So have a great weekend.
Okay, yeah, one of the things that's affected all the departments in the county this year is the COVID-19. We're spread out amongst our stations where we'd normally all be in one station. So our response times are a little slower anyhow because of the remote working, and this type of fire, it will take us a little longer to get on it. Like I say, there's not enough resources in the county to handle a fire that goes larger. We've already had several of them. We're coming out of that period right now where we don't have near as much dead grass laying there. It's starting to green up, but there are still areas of the district up higher where we do have that hazard. So just be careful.
Right. Sounds like we all have to be really responsible.
Yep.
All right. Well, sounds great. Well, again, have a great holiday weekend, and we thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.